Welcome to the Tim Booker channel, where wisdom deserves to be shared. Wishing you a pleasant listening experience. Today, we're discussing the book, How to Keep People from Pushing Your Buttons. This book is authored by the American psychology master, Albert Ellis. Previously, we discussed Ellis's book, Controlling Anger. Albert Ellis is a highly influential psychologist in American history. In the ranking of the most influential applied psychologists in the United States and Canada, Sigmund Freud was third, and the author of this book, Albert Ellis, held the second position. Ellis's primary contribution lies in his development of rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT, which laid the foundation for modern cognitive behavioral therapy. This theory and therapy are essential components of psychological counseling in many countries, including China. Throughout his life, Ellis dedicated himself to helping people address psychological and emotional issues in their lives. His emotional therapy has helped many individuals overcome emotional distress. The book we're discussing today, Why Do Others Always Control My Emotions, specifically targets excessive emotional reactions. What sets this book apart from other emotional therapy books is its classification and analysis of various negative emotions and how to deal with them. First, let's look at the 4 excessive emotional reactions summarized by Ellis that we often encounter in life. 1. Excessive irritability, including tension, frustration, annoyance, anxiety, and fear. For example, feeling extremely nervous before a job interview or becoming irritable when speaking to a challenging boss. 2. Excessive anger, encompassing defensiveness, agitation, fury, and a sense of defeat. For instance, getting angry when your partner criticizes your parenting style or when your colleague doesn't cooperate at work. 3. Excessive depression, manifesting as lethargy and despondency. Losing a loved one, experiencing a breakup, or losing a job can lead to feeling down and unable to function. 4. Excessive guilt, where you excessively shoulder blame and remorse, believing everything is your fault. For instance, feeling guilty about a divorce's impact on your child or staying in a relationship out of a sense of duty. These emotions are familiar in our lives, but how do we determine when they become excessive? How do we distinguish between reasonable and excessive reactions? The author makes an interesting point: you usually know when your reactions are excessive. About 85% of the time, you can recognize when you're overreacting because this judgment is ingrained in our instincts. You may not want to admit it, but deep down, you know. In the remaining 15% of cases, you might not realize it yourself, but people around you should be able to tell. If someone points out that you may be overreacting, it's time for self-reflection. So, how do emotions arise? Ellis presents the Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, REBT, also known as the ABC therapy. A represents events or people in your life that stimulate you, such as conflicts with your boss or your child's poor exam results. B is your perception of these events, how you view them, whether you dislike your boss or feel annoyed about your child's performance. C is your emotional and behavioral response, your resentment toward your boss, your blame toward your child, your overall mood. The key takeaway is that your emotions, C, are not directly caused by events or people, A, but by your perceptions and reactions, B. Changing your perspective can alter your emotional responses and lead to better outcomes. Ellis emphasizes that the critical point lies in B, your thinking patterns or reaction modes. He identifies 3 types of erroneous thinking patterns that lead to C, or emotional responses. 1. Catastrophic thinking, which involves magnifying issues. 2. Absolute thinking, which involves viewing things in black and white terms. 3. Rationalization, where you justify your emotions or actions. Understanding the ABC pattern can help you recognize how your thoughts contribute to your emotional responses and behavior, as discussed in our previous book, Controlling Anger. Let's start by looking at the first type, catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is when you tend to think of something as extremely serious. We often think, what if this or that happens, what should I do? For example, if you're waiting for a job interview and feeling extremely nervous, you might think, what if I can't answer the questions? What if I'm not qualified? What if I fail this interview? Thinking this way before the interview, you won't be able to relax and perform at your best. The author found that teenagers in their adolescence tend to use catastrophizing when thinking about problems. For instance, they might think, what if the girl I like doesn't like me? What if I do badly in the exam? What if my classmates think I study too much and call me a nerd? Adults can also easily adopt catastrophic thinking in their relationships. For instance, if your relationship with your partner has been tense lately, and you start thinking, does she not love me anymore? Am I not attractive enough? Is she getting tired of me? Is she having an affair? What if our relationship can't improve? What if we keep arguing and eventually break up? What should I do? The problem with catastrophizing is that it makes you constantly worried and anxious, causing you to lose rational judgment of a situation. This way of looking at problems can also affect how you handle them, often with distorted results. It's quite likely that things will indeed move in the direction you're worrying about. The second erroneous thinking pattern is shoulding. Shoulding is when you constantly impose high expectations on yourself, thinking, I should be like this, I should do it this way, I should be like that. Imagine having someone around you who constantly has such high expectations for themselves, often saying, I should do better, I must secure that job, I should earn this much money. These people tend to be highly demanding of themselves and often impose the same demands on those around them, saying, you should do this or that. Ellis believes that always shoulding is the worst of the three thinking patterns in overreactive responses because it not only puts immense pressure on oneself but also imposes this pressure on people around you. To break free from the harm caused by this way of thinking, we need to look at things from a different perspective, accepting what has already happened instead of constantly demanding, I should do it this way, things shouldn't be like this. The third erroneous thinking pattern is rationalizing. Rationalizing is when you consider everything that exists as reasonable and acceptable. You might say, so what? This is just how I am, who cares? You may think, I understand it's normal, I can't do it, I was born this way. Ellis believes that when we rationalize, we're actually responding weakly to problems, avoiding the real issues. These three erroneous thinking patterns, once they become habitual, can lead to various forms of suffering in our lives. Ellis has summarized 10 common erroneous life philosophies, all resulting from these three thinking patterns, catastrophizing, shoulding, and rationalizing. Now, you might be wondering, what is the correct way of thinking? Ellis offers a fourth alternative, which is to eliminate these three erroneous thinking patterns, catastrophizing, shoulding, and rationalizing. Ellis presents a better way, making better choices. We always have the choice, even when we feel cornered and believe we have none. Ellis provides a two-step solution. First, ask yourself, how can I make things better? How can I improve myself? Second, if you can't, it's okay, accept the outcome. The first step teaches you to make better choices, while the second step teaches you to accept the result. But how do you make better choices? Ellis offers 4 steps. 1. Reflect on why you're experiencing negative emotions. 2. Examine your thoughts from 3 perspectives, your own, others, and the current relationship's perspective. 3. Reflect on how to counteract negative emotions. 4. Ask yourself if you have a better choice. The author illustrates these 4 steps in the book through a specific case, such as a girl named Joanne who has been feeling excessively irritated and angry recently due to relationship issues with her partner. How can she resolve this problem? The first step is to work backward from C, which is your current emotional state. You need to ask yourself how extreme your recent feelings and behaviors have been. Have you been getting angry for no reason, or experiencing insomnia and resistance? The second step, at B, is to question your own thoughts and understand why you've made yourself so unhappy. For example, Joanne might say, why has he been so distant lately? Why doesn't he seem to care about me anymore? Have I lost my charm? Have I done something wrong? What if our relationship is deteriorating? Well, if he doesn't care, then neither do I. In this step, you'll notice that Joanne's thoughts exhibit the negative thinking patterns of catastrophizing, shoulding, and rationalizing. The third step involves figuring out how to combat irrational thinking patterns. Joanne might think, he seems distant now, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think I should talk to him, understand any misunderstandings or problems we may have had, and then figure out how to resolve them. The fourth and final step is to determine how you can replace your previous catastrophizing, shoulding, and rationalizing thoughts. Joanne might conclude, I hope he'll become more attentive and appreciative of me. But if he can't right now, I'll continue to work on what I want from this relationship. I'll try to communicate with him, understand his perspective, and find ways to improve things. If there's no improvement, I might consider moving on, but only after making a sincere effort. When Joanne starts thinking this way, her attitude and way of life change. She no longer has extreme emotional reactions. If you approach problems like Joanne does, you'll find yourself becoming calmer. Importantly, when you do this, you're not deceiving yourself into thinking that everything will definitely get better. You're taking positive action and observing how things develop. If they start improving, you'll continue your efforts. If not, you'll consider the next step. Ellis suggests that it's crucial not to be overly rigid and demanding of yourself, expecting everything to turn out perfectly. Flexibility is important, and sometimes, you must accept that success isn't entirely within your control. In summary, Ellis's methodology allows you to adjust your negative emotions effectively, helping you stay calm and think rationally. It provides a systematic approach for counselors and individuals struggling with emotional issues. Hopefully, it can help you break free from being controlled by your emotions. That concludes today's content. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth spreading for a brighter future. Thank you, and goodbye.